Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Kol Elohim La Adonai Yahweh, Bashem Shamal Yahushai, Bashem Rakadash, double honor to the apostles and elders, great millstone, be citation, and hopeful elect, Shalom. And the title of the video is going to be, I just might title it like, NYC woman, lured man, into, apartment, something to that effect, you know. So, pretty much like the article goes down to like saying like this was like 100K kidnapping plot that the police said, and the name of the female was Valerie Rosario. She was 21 years old, and it says that two other people are accused of assaulting the unidentified victim, 24, at a Bronx apartment, February 7, police said. So, she's alleged to have lured the unidentified victim, 24, to a Bronx apartment on February 7, police said. At least two men with firearms are alleged to have waited until he went inside and then entered the apartment after him. One of the men hit the victim with a pistol, according to a complaint provided by the Manhattan District Attorney office. The suspect undressed the victim and put him in a bathtub, the complaint says. They poured flammable liquid on him, burned him with a flame, and repeatedly stabbed him with a knife, it alleges. Around 2:40 p.m., the victim's brother said he received a FaceTime call and saw three masked individuals surrounding the victim, the complaint states. One of the suspects cut the victim while stating, "Give us $100,000 or we will kill him," according to the complaint. Police said the victim was later driven from the Bronx apartment to a location in Queens, where detectives saw one of the suspects in a van with a knife. The suspect, Javier Vargas, 24, of the Bronx, was arrested February 7 on charge of robbery, assault, kidnapping, and lawful imprisonment. The victim was in the back of the van wrapped in a moving blanket with his nose and mouth covered with tape. Police said he was taken to the hospital in stable condition. Rosario and another suspect, Michael Candelario, were taken into custody Wednesday and charged with attempted murder, robbery, assault, kidnapping, and lawful imprisonment. Rosario was arraigned last week. Judge Somi Said remanded her into custody, granting a request from prosecutors. Raymond Rosario's lawyer says she denies all allegations against her. The two other defendants were arraigned and remain in custody. Their attorneys could not immediately be reached for comment. So, it's just a little skim through the article. And it really is pretty scriptural on why, you have to pretty much be aware and you have to be very vigilant when it's coming to dealing with women, you know. So, I'll bring out a couple scriptures. I don't know, to tell you Akim, you know, for those of you Aquafium as well, viewing this video could be edified. And most likely she was a thought, because you gotta keep in mind, most of these Instagram women, that's how they be getting down. They get all those views, they get all them likes, and then all that attention, and then they have that in the scriptures, it will say over much liberty that they're abused with, and just want to bring out Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verse 3. It says, "Meet not with an harlot, lest thou fall into her snares." Use not the company of a woman that is a singer, lest thou be taken for attempts. And gaze not on a maid, that thou fall not by those things that are precious in her. Give not thy soul unto harlots, that thou lose not thine inheritance. Yeah. And this is the one verse 8 as well. Turn away thine eye from a beautiful woman, and look not upon another's beauty, for many have been deceived by the beauty of a woman, for herewith love is kindled as a fire. And unfortunately, that man has been tortured with, with fire, which is really fucked up, Yeah, it's crazy, man. You know, but yeah, it's like I felt like if he really wanted to meet up with that woman, he should have went to a spot where, you get to know her, maybe at a restaurant, so like a public place, see her vibes is, how she moves, stuff like that. Because you don't know her. You just got to know her on Instagram. You don't know who she got ties with. You don't know, you know, who's her clique. Who she associates herself around. You know. And that's another thing too. In Jacob's Trouble, you're gonna find a lot of women like this as well. That you're gonna have men out there that's gonna put women to work like that to try to lure men into traps and shit like that. Whole time you thinking that they're gonna be doing something that that satisfy you, and the next thing you know, nope, it's a trap. You know, that's why this other scripture also a lot of brothers usually bring out for edification of why you shouldn't marry a wicked woman. Well, I mean, it's just with wicked women in general. Whether you dating them, whether you're meeting up with them just to fuck them or whatever for a one-time thing and that's it. It don't matter. Whether you meet them at a bar, the scripture applies as well. I'm about to bring it out as Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 26, it says, I find more bitter than death the woman whose heart is snares and nets and her hands as bands, whoso please if Yahweh shall escape her from her, but the sinner shall be taken by her. Exactly. And I mean, mostly that scripture is usually a lot of brothers would say when it's coming to marriage, that will play a part into it. But that scripture, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like the man that was taken by her, that the Lord is not pleased with, that nigga gotta eventually pay his child support, or he had to pay alimony, that he's caught in that financial trap. But sometimes not only that, with having a kid for her, being married and divorced from, somewhere down the line, that she divorced you and then you have to keep paying her for some pussy that you're not touching ever again. Like, they can have it to where, like some woman like this guy that I just read in the article, like, some identified guy met up with that lady called Valerie Rosario. She said they said she allegedly set him up, but I believe so that she actually did set him up, because a lot of women are set ups, whether they be Spanish, whether they be black. Usually women in general are pretty much set ups in any way, but especially sad to say, even mostly our women, especially when it's coming to the black woman. But in this case, it seemed like it was mostly a Spanish woman that did so, and their setups too. Sometimes, yeah. And this is pretty much unfortunate for him, because he thought he was gonna pretty much get his pleasure to be satisfied or whatever, to satisfy his sexual urges, and nope, something completely unplanned, happened to him. Sometimes it's also good to do research on the area that you're about to meet up the person in as well. And not only that, just making sure that you get to know the person for a little, at a public places before you go to their domain, going to where they live and shit like that. Like, nah, shit's crazy. In Ecclesiastes chapter 25, verse 19, it says, all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman, let the portion of a sinner fall upon her. And what you call it? Verse 21, stumble not at the beauty of a woman and desire her not for pleasure. Exactly. You know, and that's what I'm getting at with this story. Eventually, every woman that you see, um, you know, you shouldn't really lust after. And if anything, that's why wisdom comes first. Because, shit like that, you don't want to get yourself into, because that will suck. If anything, if, because he found out on Instagram, but usually if you want to go to finding an escort, you go, you know, I mean, I'll say the best places in my opinion would be to go to those massage parlors, like the AMP reviews. They show you massage parlors around if you Google search that, and just shit like that. But honestly, it's usually just best to kind of stay away from you know certain women that are just again that you have a feeling that's pretty much like dealing with certain type of guys too, because who knows, like the type of guys that she be around, because sometimes they show you on Instagram the type of guys they keep company with and shit like that. Like they go on live showing you they around hood niggas and all this shit, you know. And if he known that, you know, it would have been dumb for him to still go around her, especially the fact that he didn't even know her, like he was getting to know her. But with that, hope we made the lesson edifying. Like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Adonai Yahweh Bashem Shamalak Yahweh Bashem Kakadash. And peace, citation, the hope for elect. And shalom.